Okay, so we've been doing these lives from my account. We're going to do it from Matt's account today, and if you have any questions, you can post them and we'll try to get to them afterwards. We are going to be going through a Pilates routine today that includes some of Matt's favorite exercises. This is a recovery day for him on Wednesday, so we do some core activations, some stability work, and some mobility work all rolled into one. So we are using today a Pilates circle, which if you don't have one, that's okay, because you can use a mini band or a yoga block the same way that we're going to be using the circle. And if you don't have either, that's fine too. So we will get started on the mat. You're going to start with some core activation. We don't need this. And we'll go hands behind the head. You can move up just a little bit here. Yeah. Hands behind the head, and the knees go into a tabletop position. So tabletop can be here, right out in front of your knees, or to stay a little bit higher, heels a little bit higher than your knees, will keep you from overusing your hip flexors when you do these exercises. Feet touch when they're at the top, and you'll inhale to take, stay down for, the first one. So we'll start with the head down. Inhale, take one leg, and you're hinging from the hip, inhaling on the way down, exhaling on the way up. He's anchored in, his ribs are down, his spine is connected to the mat. Let's do one more each side of these. We don't do high reps of anything because we're working the same muscle groups over and over again. Now he's going to stay there. He's going to take an inhale to get ready. And he's going to exhale, lift the upper body. Chin is down. Ribs are connected. Inhaling, taking the leg down. Same movement on the bottom. So this is just kind of a broken down dead bug. We're not using the arms. Sometimes we do use the arms, but in Pilates we just call these knee folds. Good. One more each side. And last one. Good. And then rest. So that helps to really activate your core, get some good core stabilization before you do anything. Now, before we do this, we usually foam roll a little bit and maybe do some breathing exercises, but beyond that, this is the warm-up. So we're going to go to some bridges, and one of the things that I talked to Matt about before we did this one is, did it really make a difference for you when you started doing abduction and adduction with the bridges? And it does for most of my clients. So we're going to use the circle on the inside of his legs. If you don't have a circle, you can use a yoga block, and if you're at home, you can even use, if you have a dense pillow. All right, so he's going to give just a little squeeze. Feet are shoulder width apart, or a little beyond hip width apart, and then he's going to push into his heels and come up into his bridge. Stay there for a sec. He's pressing into his arms, so shoulders are open, chest is open, and you'll notice he's not overarching his back. He's got a nice straight line, and then he'll come down. Good. You give a little squeeze on the circle, block, pillow, whatever you've got, and then you come up, and then all the way down. Good. And up. Good, and we'll just do one more of these. Typically when we're doing this, we do anywhere from 4 to 8 reps. Okay, now he's gonna take it on the outside. This is where you could use a mini band instead to give you some resistance for the abduction, abduction. All right, so feet are gonna be a little bit wider, more towards the edge of your mat. He's gonna do the same thing, except he's gonna start with a little pelvic tilt before he goes up. Good, and then he comes down. The reason that we do this is because if you press out and you have an arch in your back, it's not going to feel great in your back. So go to your little pelvic tilt, coming up, good, and then all the way down. What a lot of people do, they make the mistake of just driving the hips straight up without getting a little bit of a pelvic tilt first and bringing the abdominals into it. So it's abdominals, glutes, a little bit of hamstrings. We did a lot there. So we're going to keep the circle here, stay up. And now you're going to take your arms all the way overhead. So in this position, he's overhead. You can relax the arms. And as he comes down, he's giving himself a little bit of traction in the spine. The first one is not usually the prettiest. So not that yours wasn't pretty. So he's going into that bridge, arms go overhead. You can absolutely do these without the circle, without a block, without a pillow, but it definitely adds another element when you bring the abduction and adduction both in and out. Good. And come down, reaching those arms, do one more here. Comes into the pelvic tilt, he presses, lifts up, arms go all the way back, and then he's kind of rolling down and away from his arms. This mimics an exercise that we do on the trapeze table that really puts you in traction. It's not the same, but it's pretty close. All right, so next we're gonna go to core twists. We're not gonna use any props for that, we normally don't. Arms are gonna go out to your side. They can be anywhere out to your side as long as they're below your shoulders. So we're back in that tabletop position, feet are together, and you're inhaling as you go to one side and exhaling as you come back. So I always give this cue. Think about using the bottom leg to pick the top leg up and bring it over. Good, one more each side here, and you're keeping the opposite shoulder firmly planted on the mat so that you're getting this nice rotation from the waistline. Good, and then you can rest there. All right, next, I don't know why I'm looking at it sideways. Oh, we didn't bring gliders in, so we're gonna show you, that's perfect, and I didn't tell them about gliders, so we're gonna show them the alternate to that. So we do an exercise using gliders that really helps activate the transverse abdominis, the deepest layer of your core, that provides tons of stability. Back up just a little bit here. Yeah. So from here, we're gonna do it without gliders. He's got socks on, so he actually could glide. We'll show you both. How about that? All right, hands go behind the head. So legs are gonna be wider than shoulder width here. He's gonna inhale to get ready. He'll exhale as he bends at the chest, lifts the upper body. Good. And then I didn't tell you what to do. Stay here. So if you're not using a glider, you're gonna pick up the right leg just a hair and cross it over the left, if you can. Yeah, and then bring it back and set it down and come all the way down. Good. And then take an inhale to get ready. Exhale, lift the upper body. You're gonna pick up that left leg, literally just 2 inches, not even as high as he is right now, and then take it back and down. But what Matt likes, and what I know most of my clients prefer, I prefer it too, is doing where you just slide. So you inhale to get ready, exhale, lift the upper body as you slide that leg to the center, bring it back, and then all the way down. Good. And inhale to get ready, exhale, lift as you bring the leg in, out, and down. So rest there for a second. We would normally do a couple on each side, but our very favorite one is when we bring both of the legs together. This is a great activation exercise. So as you exhale, he's going to be bringing both legs together, really reaching out from the hip, and we'll do about 4 of those. So as he exhales, he comes up, the legs move in simultaneously, and then inhale, everything comes out and down. And then again, exhale, coming together, out and down, good. And coming up, legs in. I said 4, I think we have one more. Yeah. And exhale, good. And then down, perfect. So next we have one of your favorites, which is the side-lying arm circles. Actually, they're not side-lying. Remember, because we do, are they side-lying?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do the side-lying ones. I was thinking of the other ones, where we go around and bring your arm in.
Yeah, it's still a little side-lying.
Okay. I think we were thinking of 2 different exercises. So bottom leg is going to be straight. Did you just pop? Bottom leg is going to be straight out from your body. Top leg is going to be slightly forward. Good. Oh, yeah, it is. And then we would typically support your head. So, but then you can't bring your arm around. Yeah, you can. Okay. All right. So we're going to reach the top leg out. Arms are stacked, shoulders are stacked, hips stay stacked. So he's going to inhale as he starts. He brings that arm up overhead, and as he exhale, He comes around and he brings his elbow into his waistline here. Good, and then he reaches back up and over. Good, at least one of us remembers what we're doing. And out and around, coming as close to the floor as you can. And I usually have him kind of press into my foot so that he's got some resistance. You can do that like using a door frame, or you don't have to, and then rest there. That was good. And then we will flip to the other side. You want to just do it back, or you want to flip around? Just like this. Okay. You can see the reverse. All right. So from here, he takes that arm up and overhead and brings that arm as close to the ground as possible. And you'll see after you do a few of these, you'll find that that arm will come closer to the ground. So you're not pushing it. Good. And then up and around. Good. How many we do on the other side? 4? 3? This is 3. And come back. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and come on to hands and knees next. I don't think we need that. Okay, so this is just a typical bird dog, but when I talked to Matt about this, really working stability on the diagonal can make a big difference for you if you don't incorporate these types of exercises. So we're going to be starting with the right arm and the left leg, and you're going to inhale as you reach out. Now, hold it here for a second. We're looking for a straight spine, even shoulders, even hips. And then as you exhale, you're bringing the knee and the elbow together, but you're not crossing over, you're not arching or flexing in the spine. You're just keeping a nice, neutral, straight spine. We'll do 4 or 5 of these, and then we'll go to the other side. Same thing here, looking for stability in the hips, in the shoulders. Sometimes when we do this, we will hold the position for a little bit. Other times we just move through it. Good. And then when you're done with these, do a couple of cat-cows just to kind of mobilize the spine. We worked on stability. We're now working on the mobility. We kind of go back and forth. They're both equally as important. You cannot have mobility without stability, otherwise it creates a weakness. So you've got to have that stability to balance out your flexibility or mobility. Good. All right, and then next, Matt's gonna do some kneeling push-ups, which sounds like, okay, he definitely does regular push-ups in his workout, but when we do Pilates, we focus on lat activation and working the upper back. So that's why we do these on the knees. So you start hands and knees, and then you're gonna walk your hands just slightly out in front. Good. And so when he goes into that push-up, he's gripping the mat. He can start back here in a child's pose. He grips the mat, pulls himself forward, straight arms though, go down, up, and then back. So getting a stretch through the lat here, straight arms pull you forward, good. And we'll just do 4 or 5 here, whatever you think. Pulling it forward. Good. All right, and then a good stretch can come after that. Go ahead and stretch in child's pose. Chest falls between the knees. This gives you some length in your spine. Stretch through your lats, between your shoulder blades. Then go ahead and walk over to one side. This will stretch out your obliques and down through your serratus. Again, get your lats, and then come to the other side. Good. And then you go ahead and come back up onto hands and knees. And we're going to go into what we call a stability plank. So we do this. This is something that Matt does before he throws. This helps just create a connection between the core and the shoulder. So he's going to go into a plank, but his legs are going to be a little bit wider than shoulder width apart here. Good. Rib cage is up and in. There's no arch in the back. And all he's going to do is just pick up one arm without shifting his weight. He's alternating sides. Oh, these look really good today. and he picks it up. This is working every muscle in his body, his legs even, to keep that stability as he goes onto one shoulder. This can be your last one here. Good. All right, and take a stretch there. And then why don't we do, since we're going to come up to standing shortly, let's go ahead and do those side twists. This is an exercise that was actually, that came from another program that we incorporated into this. We switched it up a little bit, and it is a great stretch for the QL. So he's on his forearms, he's reaching long through his neck, his thighs parallel, bottom thighs parallel to the front. This leg could even come back a little bit more. Good, leg is straight. And from here, once you're in this position, it's almost as if you're pulling your elbows towards you and like pulling the top half of your body forward. Then when he breathes, go ahead and take a breath into your belly. It expands this whole area around the QL, which is a really common place to get tight. He's gonna take about 3 breaths in this position. Really common place to get tight if you're rotational. Whoa, stay there. Go up onto high hands to just take that bigger stretch, yeah. So if you do this at kind of this point in your routine, you might get some pops because you've already mobilized your spine, you've done some breathing, you've activated your core. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So he's on his forearms here, elbows right underneath the shoulders. We're gonna go head straight, neck long. He's pulling forward, gives him a stretch here. And then as he inhales, that's really, you're sliding. As he inhales, that's really where you're gonna feel the stretch. So doing this stretch without the breath involvement is probably getting 30% of the benefits of it. If you breathe into it, that is when you're gonna feel the expansion and really help get it wrap around to your low back. And then up for the bigger stretch. All right, so from here, we're gonna come back to a plank position.
All right, one more facing this way.
Yeah, you can stay there. All right, so back to his plank position, and what he's gonna do here is just some step ins. And he's gonna step to this outside of his hand, and then he's gonna step back. Good. Step to the outside here, and then back. So this is just a dynamic stretch that you can do. This is a great addition to any warm-up. And sometimes we take this further and we go into standing. We're not gonna do that today. Then we're gonna do one more here. Then come back into your plank, and then you're just gonna walk it in. So he's gonna walk his feet in, gets a good stretch here, and kind of rolls all the way up to standing. Then we're gonna go through just one more little series for you.
Do you want facing or do you want side?
I think side. So, and I'll show you.
Side profile's way better anyway.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
We'll see what kind of comments we get from that. He thinks his side profile is way better. Okay, so let's use the circle. Again, you do not have to use anything here, but a yoga block or a Pilates ring here is going to give you that stability. So if you're somebody that typically has tight IT bands, you probably are at some point rolling to the outer edges of your feet. And these types of exercises where you put something between your ankles are really going to help you feel completely grounded as you do this. So we're going to go into some hip hinges here. So Matt usually puts his hands on his hips so that he can kind of feel where he is in space. As he goes down, his spine is nice and straight, and then he comes back up and hips come through. So I usually equate this to if you use kettlebells in your workout and you do a kettlebell swing, think of this as like a slow motion kettlebell swing. The hips go back, the knees stay over the ankles, and up. We'll do one more like that. Good. All right, I'm going to take this away, and sometimes we add some heel lifts into that. Sometimes we will do it on the outside, but truthfully, for Matt personally, it works, but he gets more activation on the inside, and most of us because we're already to the outside of our feet. But if you tend to roll in, then putting a band or a circle on the outside would be helpful. So now we're going to do these single leg, which is an amazing hamstring stretch. So we have the right leg back. It took me a second. Left leg forward.
Challenge people.
Right and left challenge. And we're coming up onto the ball of that foot. As he bends, same thing, flat back, good. And then exhale, hips come up and through. So he's feeling this stretch on the left leg. Exhale, you should be, if you're doing this with us, maybe not now, but I'll post it on my IGTV and you can try this yourself. You'll feel a really, really good stretch in that front ham. Stay facing that side so they can see what it looks like from the other side. Yeah. So right here, back leg, you're up on the ball of your foot. And you hinge at the hip. The back knee gives you a really big bend. And the front leg is a slight bend. Good. Coming down. Hips remain even in line. Good. And you want to focus on keeping your neck in line with the rest of your spine. So chin in. You want to avoid letting that chin come out, jutting your chin out, and extending through your neck. The other one, that was all we had for you, but I was going to add maybe in the hip flexor stretch.
The kneeling one?
Yeah, because I know you like that one. So we'll give you a little extra cushion.
Did you decide to have your studio on hardwood floor?
Yeah, well, I didn't decide. The global pandemic decided. Okay, so from here, maybe do this one from facing the front. Okay. So he's on his right knee, left foot is in front. For stability, he can come a little bit farther than hip width apart so that he's got a little bit of stability there. And what you don't get from the side, the reason we sometimes show from the side is he's going to go into a little pelvic tilt. Right, so here, chest stays lifted, but the pelvis comes underneath him. We're just going to do 2 or 3 of those. And when you go into that pelvic tilt is when you're going to feel the stretch in the hip flexor on that side. Now, from the pelvic tilt, we're going to take the left fist into the left knee and keep the pelvic tilt, and you're going to reach up and over. Don't lean back. Yeah, just pure side. That's it. And then relax and relax the hips. Do another one of those. Yeah. So fist on the knee. Go into that pelvic tilt, reach the arm up and over. Now, if this doesn't give you enough of a stretch, you could slide forward a little bit, but this isn't about coming into that low lunge and really deeply stretching the hip flexor. This comes from the other movements that we're connecting to it. Good. So we start just with the pelvic tilts. You've got a good stable base. Good. And then as you're doing the pelvic tilts, really your glute is activating. I'm noticing it as I'm standing right behind you. So your left glute's activating as you do that pelvic tilt, which is always what we're looking for in stretches. We always want to have some resistance. So the glute activation is the balance to the hip flexor stretch here. So we're always doing stretches with some resistance. We're not just hanging out there at the very end of that stretch. With your hip flexors, you want to be gentle with them and stretching them. You don't want to overstretch them. A lot of times people come and think that their hip flexors are tight, when in actuality your hip flexors are actually weak because they've been overstretched. And then you have to really work on core activation, some of the exercises that we did there. That glider one is really good if you have weak hip flexors. And that's what we have for you now. Should we see if there are any questions? Okay.
You gotta like scroll.
I think you can, oh no, this is people that wanted to go live with us. Let's see. Okay. All right, guys, thank you for joining and cute comments. And we will be doing, we're going to be doing, I have to shut this off because I'm going blind. We're going to be doing our next video, we're going to be showing you some of the exercises right now to complete his Pilates routine, which is Wednesdays. We're going to be going downstairs, getting on the reformer, and we decided we were going to do a video for you that showed you a way to do the reformer exercises without a reformer. So using a stability ball or gliders, and that's up next. All right.
Stay tuned.